Good morning, folks. It's 1:31. I'd like to call the Planning and Stakeholders Relations Committee meeting to order. The first item is the roll call of members of the committee. Members like to call themselves?
Ann O'Gorick.
Stephanie Turman.
Allie Doyle.
Good morning. Members, additional members like to identify themselves?
Jeff Letwin.
Joe Totten.
Lori Mizgorski.
Jen Liptak.
Okay, thank you. The second item is approval of the October 16th minutes. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Seeing no corrections, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, I'll take that as a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes were approved. Now we're going to have from Philip a update on the service changes. Philip.
Good morning. Good morning, committee members. I'm Philip St. Pierre. I'm the Director of Transit Scheduling at PRT. Today, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the October 1, 2023 service changes, and also give you a high-level overview of some of the things that we're looking for in our next service change that's going to be happening in February. All right, so today we have about 4 weeks worth of ridership data to evaluate on the changes to the 61 and 71 series routes. What we've been able to look at and determine from those 4 weeks of data, the number of trips with standees on them on the 61s and 71s has decreased from about 100 trips on average per weekday to about 37 trips with standees. The location of those standees typically is around almost in the East End in the previous ridership data that we were looking at in the June service change. And now those standees appear to be more so concentrated in the uptown area. So we are continuing to evaluate this ridership data and customer feedback to look at some potential planned improvements in the next February service change and beyond. The on-time performance for the 61s and 71s is slightly up about 5%. It's too early for official ridership data, as this takes 3 data sources to combine to get true official ridership at this time. But we utilized our automatic passenger counters to look at the standees. We continue to evaluate the customer feedback that we continue to collect so that we can evaluate, like I said, February and beyond, getting some additional changes on that. This is a chart here that shows in our June 2023 service changes, we had about 100 average trips. That represented about 10% of the total trips. In the October service change, that's down to about 37, which represents about 37 or about 4% of the trips that has standees on there. So we do have. We do see that there's some overcrowding in the morning time frame. So we're going to be looking at some service changes on the 71B to help address some of the overcrowding that we're seeing. And I'll go more into that in our upcoming slides. So our next service change is slated for February 18th, 2024. Today, we're just giving a high-level overview of what we've been discussing internally about some anticipated changes. This isn't the final list, and there could be some additional changes and some modifications to what's in the slides today. But given that we don't have a December meeting, our next opportunity for an official briefing to the committee is in January. So this is a tentative plan of what we're aiming for February. Our plan right now is to do some minor service reductions of approximately about 1.5%, which represents the out of service that we're experiencing today. This allows for additional operators to be put on what we call our extra board to help cover when operators go out on planned and unplanned absences. So we certainly want to get well below our goal of 1.5%. That's in our transit service standards. That is our benchmark goal, but we certainly want to get well below that. So this will hopefully, based on our projections, will help stabilize our extra board and our operator force as we continue to put things in place that will increase our operator forces moving forward. So we do have some anticipated routing changes. So this is changes to the streets and path a bus route will take. The routes 2 and the 12, we are looking to extend to Penn Park. This will help provide a better operator relief opportunity and restroom facility for these routes. The Route 15 is currently being impacted by the Swindell Bridge detour. So we're looking to get some portions of that detour built into the schedule and also interline it with the Route 6 so that folks in the community will have a connection to that are being impacted by that detour today. The Route 67 on weekends is looking to be extended to Forbes Hospital. The 74, we're looking to extend to the East Liberty Division for an operator relief and restroom facility at the East Liberty Division, same that we did with the Route 89 with the October service change. We're also looking to remove the Beatty Street loop in the outbound direction for the Route 74. And the Route 89, we're also going to remove the Beatty Street loop in the outbound direction as well. Help streamline both of those routes as much as possible. The P76, we are discontinuing the use of the North for Sales Park and Ride, and so the P76 all the routings for that route will go to the North for Sales Walmart instead. The Y47 and Y49, some of the trips will be shortened so that they don't go to CCAC after hours. So this is helping reduce a little bit of the hours going to a location that's closed, when it is closed. The Y46, we're extending to large park and ride on some trips. So not all trips will go to large park and ride, but some trips will. We are looking to adjust some running times for the following routes on the screen here to help improve on-time performance and reliability. The list here is the 51L, 52L, 54, 55, 64, 74, 81, 83, 86, 87, and 88, and 89. The P series of the P7, P76, P78, and the Y series routes Y1, Y45, Y46, Y47, and Y49. So as I discussed earlier, we're to address some of the overcrowding that we're experiencing on the 71 series, particularly on the 71B, we're looking to add additional outbound trips in the morning hour between 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning. So we're looking at additional morning weekday outbound trips to accommodate that overcrowding between downtown and Oakland that we've been seeing. To help us achieve that 1.5% reduction in hours, these are the routes that we're looking at frequency changes. So all of the routes on the list here would be a frequency reduction. I don't have the specifics because we're still, still building timetables. And so the next time when I come in here in January, I'll have specifics on the before and after, what those frequencies may look like for each of these routes. The 51L, 53L, 56, 64, 67, 69, 74, 81, 83, 86, 87, 88, 89, the 93, the P12, P67, P76, P78, the Y45, Y47, and Y49. We do have some variant changes planned. These are changes to which and how many trips operate on a specific variant of a given route. This is typically sometimes known as like short trips or long trips on a route. That's the easiest explanation for what a variant change is. 28X, we're currently operating some airport direct trips. We haven't really seen much ridership change with those airport direct trips. So we are going to bring those trips back to Service Robinson on the 28X. The 67 will have some short variants that will operate real early in the morning and the late afternoon or late evening. P10, we're going to remove the RIDC East trips from the inbound and outbound trips. Folks will still have an alternate service using the Route 91. The P16, we're removing Harmer trips from the Universal branch and keeping Harmer on the Leechburg branch. The Y47 and Y49 previously discussed that we're going to shorten some variants to not go to CCAC after hours. And the Silver Line, we are looking at operating between short trips between Washington Junction and Library with a timed connection to the Blue Line in the late evening. All right, we do have some anticipated span of service changes. The Y1, we're looking to decrease some trips that can be staggered better with the Y46. And the Blue Line, as I discussed with the Silver Line shortly ago, the Blue Line, we are looking to discontinue the midday service on the Blue Line so that the Blue Line can operate later in the evening. So the red and the blue will operate all the way until the end of service after PM peak. And then those Silver Line shorts between Washington Junction and Library, there will be that timed connection with the blue and the silver at Washington Junction. This is going to give our operations more flexibility when we do have special events in the downtown area so that they can put 2-car trains on the red and the blue line. Right now, what's happening is the red and the silver operates after PM peak. And right now we can only put trains on the red, 2-car trains on the red line. So having the blue line operate later in the evening will give us that additional capacity to support events in the downtown area. So that concludes my presentation today, but I do want to caveat that this list is not completely finalized. We still are going to be working over the next couple weeks to finalize the February service change, coordinating with our scheduled committees at each of our divisions and reviewing those schedules. And when we come back in January, we'll have a better finalized plan to present to the committee at that time.
A couple questions.
Yes.
First, coming back to the October changes, I had thought that we were going to increase the 71B. We were going to do that, but we haven't done that until now. Is that what you're saying?
The 71B, if I remember correctly, there was some additions, I believe, in the midday, but it was mainly it was very similar to what we were operating with the June service changes. But I think with the changes and not all routes going downtown, there's more crowding on the outbound on a few trips of the 71B. So we're going to add some additional capacity by adding a few trips on the 71B outbound in the morning. So there wasn't additional trips added in the morning. I believe it was in the midday, but I'll have to get you some further clarification on that.
Right, because like I said, I was under the impression we were going to increase that, knowing the fact that the ridership on the 71 A, C, and D were going to change, but we were going to increase that. Okay, so that's being done, and it will. So we'll increase that. The other thing was the P2 no longer runs, right?
Correct.
Now, did we increase the P1s?
We increased the frequency of the P1, I believe it was from every 12 minutes to about every 8 minutes.
Because I've heard comments from riders about that there wasn't enough of an increase on the P1s. But what you're saying is you reduce the time down to 8 minutes. The question is it filling the gap? In other words, are we able to pick folks up?
I haven't looked at the ridership data specifically for the P1. There may still be some crowding that needs to be looked at and addressed, but we'll definitely take a look at that. But we did increase the P1 from it was around every 12 minutes to about every 8 minutes in the morning and afternoon peak.
And then coming back to the February changes, when are you going to have the details of that available?
In the next few, we're going to start run cutting in the next few weeks. I would say towards the end of November, we would have a more finalized picture of what the February service change will be.
I'd like you to provide that to the committee because we don't meet in December, and I'd like to see that before we have our January meetings. All right, thank you. Are there any questions from committee members?
I have a couple quick questions. On the P76, you said the North Versailles Park and Ride, is it closing?
Yes, we are discontinuing our agreement with the property owner. So yes, it is closing for us, that we will not be able to use it. It's not, I don't know if the property owner is closing it,
Yeah.
but we are ending our
You're
agreement.
not servicing.
Correct, yes.
And then can people park and ride at the Walmart or no more parking?
I don't believe officially they can. There may be some folks that do that on their own, but I don't believe that, I don't believe we have an official agreement that folks could utilize that lot for that purpose. So they may run some risk of, but I'll get you some information there. I believe there's a different park and ride that's not too far that we're going to promote. I forgot to write that, what that option was, but.
And then discontinuing the blue service, the blue midday service. Does that mean if you're along the blue line, you'd just be catching a silver?
Correct, yes. So we'll be, the plan right now is to run the red and the silver 20 minutes each. So the red and the silver will cover the entirety of the rail system.
Ally, Stephanie, any questions?
Sure. I have a question. Are we continuing are we having ongoing outreach and engagement with the public on some of these changes? And what is that looking like? Is it the same? Has it been before? That's one. And the second question is, what time will the bus time start at CCAC stop running for CCAC? Do you have a time?
Regarding the CCAC question, I will have to get those specifics and get that answer for you after the meeting. So I'll get that information for you. Regarding the outreach component, I don't believe we have anything beyond our current public notification process, which typically is about 30 days prior when a service change goes into effect. We may be able to do additional time if we have everything wrapped up at the end of November. But we don't have anything on the books as of right now for any official public notification. We do have the bus line redesign public engagement going on at this time. So that's something that we currently do have in the works.
Any additional questions of members? Seeing no additional questions, are there any stakeholder groups on the call or in the room that have a question of Philip? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for your report and look forward to that update as soon as you have it available.
And I'll get everybody the answers to the questions for today.
Okay, thank you very much, Philip. That concludes our business. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh.
You were trying to be fast. Good morning. Specifically for Ms. Turman, given that this is a lot of information that we need our passengers to understand and to process as we go into February, we will not be looking at organized coming back into community outreach, but a much more aggressive plan of between social media, flyers on vehicles, reaching out to our community partners to make sure they have accurate information, just getting a lot of information out in front of folks. I want to say the net change for February is about 1%, and we're dropping more than that on a daily basis. So numerically, it's going to look tiny, but if that's your trip, you don't care. That's your trip, you need to make sure you have that information. So we definitely heard after the October schedule change that if folks had potentially more of an explanation, they would have understood what we were doing and been able to interact a little differently. But when they saw the routes changing and nobody was explaining why, it was more of an issue for them to respond to. So we will definitely be a lot more, I don't want to say a lot more proactive. We will be more proactive in getting information out to folks ahead of time, given that this goes over the holidays. Essentially from the middle of November until the first week of January, folks' brains are, all I want for Christmas type of thing. So we'll get information out in early November, but then we'll do a bigger push January going into February.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tate. Now you're loud.
Now back to the motion. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, meeting adjourned until, January. That'll be our next meeting. All right, thank you very much, guys, and I guess you're.
Yep, I'll give everyone a second to get situated with your paperwork. All right, I'll call to order the Finance Committee for November 9th, 2023. Our first item is a roll call of our members. Committee member Taunton,
Present.
Representative Piscatano, committee member Liptak, any other board members, please identify yourselves.
Jeff Letwin,
Don Tag.
Stephanie Sherman.
Lori
Michelle Smith.
Miskorsky.
Ally Doyle.
Our next agenda item is approval of minutes of the October 19th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting. Anybody have any comments or questions or revisions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. All right, our only agenda item for today, business-wise, is a review of the October 2023 financial statements. Dominica, for it.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and other board members. My name is Dominica Brown, and I'm the Acting Chief Financial Officer here at PRT. This first slide again shows our trend for passenger revenues over the past months. And as with previous months, there's still a continuous climb. The first slide here are our revenues for the month of October. Although passenger revenues have continued to increase, we are still trending under budget by about $700,000. And that is primarily due to lower fares and access. Our expenses for the month of October are below budget by about $900,000, with wages being the main driver for that variance. For subsidies in October, we're right on budget. There are some timing differences with state operating assistance and capitalizations, but we are still right on budget. For October year to date, we're about $200,000 below budget for revenues, with access being the main driver there. Fares are pretty close to where we budgeted for the year so far. Our expenses for October year to date are $14.8 million below budgeted. Wages and benefits are also the main driver for that year to date. Subsidies for October year to date are about $700,000 over budgeted, and that's just due to timing differences with invoices. We are still down to CRISA funds with our federal stimulus from the pandemic. We have $115.5 million left in CRISA funds, with $28.3 million expended so far this year. Our operating reserves as of October have reduced. We've began with $310.6 million, $31.2 million inflows, and $44.6 million outflows. And that's all that I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions of committee members? Any questions of board members?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was our only item of business, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All right, we are adjourned and we'll see you in January.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Smianik. It is now time for the performance oversight. And the first item of business we have this morning is going to be roll call. So for my committee members, Lori Mizgorski, are you present this morning?
Yes, I'm present.
Representative Nick Piscatano? Okay, not hearing any. All right, very good. Any other board members, please state your name for the record.
Jeff Letwin,
John Tagg,
Joe Totten.
Ann O'Gore.
Ally Doyle.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. Our second item of business will be approval of our meeting minutes for the October 19th, 2023 performance oversight. Do we have any corrections or questions to those meeting minutes?
No.
Okay, hearing none, could I have a motion to approve and accept?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Very good. Thank you. For our proposed resolutions this morning, our first item is awarding of bids with Anna Marie McKibben. So good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. I have 6 items for your consideration and presentation to the full board. All of our items have been publicly advertised and e-business documents were distributed. The first item is the Gemini plastic seat inserts. 328 firms were notified of the bid opportunity. 2 firms accepted the invitation and 2 bids were received to provide Gemini plastic seat inserts utilized in a campaign to replace the fabric seats on PRT's bus fleet over a 1-year period. It is the recommendation that a contract be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Gillig LLC, in the estimated amount of $1,324,405.01. There has not been a previous contract for these items. However, staff has determined the pricing to be fair and reasonable and consistent with the funds budgeted. The second item I have is the synthetic automatic transmission fluid that we buy in bulk. 497 firms were notified of the bid opportunity. 3 firms accepted the invitation, and 3 bids were received to provide synthetic automatic transmission fluid for PRT's bus fleet. The apparent low bid from Northeast Lubricants was unable to meet the requirements of the specification and therefore ineligible for award. One thing to note is that the proposed product was not approved by the transmission manufacturer, and using an unapproved product would risk voiding our warranty. Therefore, it is the recommendation that a contract be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Brentag Lubricants Northeast, in the estimated amount of $251,820 over a 1-year period. This price represents a 1% decrease over the previous contract prices for this 1 year ago. The third item is the brake drums utilized on the coaches. This solicitation was issued as a line item award. 375 firms were notified of the bid opportunity. 6 firms accepted the invitation and 7 bids were received for brake drums utilized to maintain PRT's bus fleet over a 1-year period. The solicitation consisted of four line items, and it is the recommendation that a multiple contract award be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidders as follows. Lines 1, 3, and 4 to Southern Coach Parts Company in the estimated amount of $71,457.60, and line 2 to Truck Pro Holding Corporation in the estimated amount of $50,868 for a total contract award of $122,325.60. This price also represents a 1% decrease over the previous contract price for these items 1 year ago. The next item is the diesel exhaust fluid. 487 firms were notified of the bid opportunity. 3 firms accepted the invitation, and 3 bids were received for diesel exhaust fluid utilized to maintain PRT's bus fleet over a 2-year period. It is the recommendation that a contract be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Chemstream Inc., in the estimated amount of $529,250. This price represents a 29% decrease over the previous contract prices for these items 1 year ago. Just note on this that when this previous contract was solicited 2 years ago, the urea market was incredibly volatile due to a lack of supply, which obviously drives prices up. One of the major urea plants had shut down and another had suffered a fire. Since then, production has normalized and the market is even out. And as a result, suppliers are able to offer more favorable pricing that the DEF manufacturers can pass on to its customers. So that attributes to that large decrease there. The next item I have for you is the fastener supply service. 432 firms were notified of the bid opportunity. 3 firms accepted the invitation and 3 bids were received for fastener supply service to provide the nuts, bolts, washers, and screws utilized across PRT's facilities and the maintenance of its vehicles over a 2-year period, with the option to extend for an additional 1 year. The apparent low bid from Worth USA was unable to meet the requirements of the specification and therefore ineligible for award. This specification required for the fasteners to be manufactured in the United States, and Worth was unable to guarantee that all of the supplied fasteners could conform to that requirement. Therefore, it is the recommendation that a contract be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Thomas Fastening Systems, in the estimated amount of $582,114.31 over a 2-year period with the option to renew for an additional 1-year term at the sole discretion of PRT. This price represents a 56% increase over the previous contract price for these items 2 years ago. However, this contract was also solicited during the height of the COVID-19 lockdown, and quantities of this last contract were reduced as PRT was operating at a reduced capacity. Now that we're operating a little bit more regularly, quantities have been increased to accommodate that work, which attributes to the large price increase. And finally, the last item I have for you is operators, fare collectors, supervisors, and maintenance uniforms option year. At its October 2021 meeting, the board authorized a contract B210764A with Work America, the uniform company, over a 2-year term with a 1-year option period to provide uniforms to PRT's operators, fare collectors, supervisors, and maintenance employees. The contractor has performed well throughout the initial term of the contract, and operations and maintenance staff wishes to exercise the option period. The contract permitted a maximum 3% escalation for the option period, and the total not to exceed amount to be added to the contract for the option period would be $1,377,558.05. It is the recommendation that a contract be amended with Work America, the uniform company, to exercise the option year in the amount of $1,377,558.05, which would bring the total not to exceed contract value to $4,052,428.05. This option year price represents the contracted rates, and staff has determined the pricing to be fair and reasonable and consistent with the funds budgeted. Pending any questions, I respectfully request that you move all items to the full board for approval.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. McKibben. Thank you for the explanation with the increase, decrease, and the availability of those products. I appreciate that very much. Do any of our committee members have any questions or comments right now for Ms. McKibben?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you for the report.
Any other board members have questions?
I just have a question on the seat inserts.
Mhm.
Will that result in the whole fleet having the hard seats, or will there be additional phases of that?
No, we're taking out all the fabric ones to put in plastic. It's a little bit easier to clean and keep clean. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Thanks.
On the bus. Yes, on the bus. Sorry.
Yeah, on the bus.
On the buses. Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions? If not, can I have a motion to move this forward to the full board?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. McKibben. Moving on to item B, authorization to extend and amend agreement with Willis Towers Watson US LLC to provide employee benefits consulting services. And Inez, good morning. Hi, Ms. Cologne. How are you?
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, and visitors. The resolution before you is seeking authorization to extend and amend the agreement as cited earlier, and that number is number R2008 with Willis Towers Watson US LLC to provide employee benefits consulting services. In November of 2020, Port Authority of Allegheny County, DBA, Pittsburgh Regional Transit Board authorized the award of the agreement to Willis Towers and Watson US LLC to provide said services for an initial 3-year term for a total not to exceed amount of $825,000 to be allocated specifically during the request of work orders. The agreement also contained 2 additional option years to be exercised by PRT at its sole discretion. The initial 3-year term of the agreement expires on February 28, 2024, and we have determined it is in our best interest to exercise the first option year, extending the agreement to February 28, 2025. And also increasing the total not to exceed amount from $825,000 to $1.1 million so that said services can continue to be rendered to PRT as needed. Madam Chair, I respectfully request that you move this resolution to the full board. Are there any questions?
Very good, Ms. Cologne. Any questions from my committee?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Any
Thank you
questions
very
for
much.
other board members? For Ms. Cologne? Thank you very much, Ms. Cologne. Any other
Thank you.
questions? Hearing none, could I have a motion to move this forward to the full board?
So moved.
Second, all in
Thank you,
favor,
ma'am.
please say aye.
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 Thank
Any
you.
opposed? Hearing motion carries. Thank you so much, Inez. Moving on to item C, and this will be with Mike Setra. Authorization to enter into structures over facilities agreement with the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority for Belasco Station improvements.
Yes, good morning, Madam Committee Chairwoman, committee members, and other board members. This first resolution that I have for the committee's consideration this morning would authorize PRT to enter into a structures over facilities agreement with the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority. As part of our public transportation system, PRT operates a light rail system that includes a station along PRT's Red Line located on Broadway Avenue in the Beachview neighborhood of the city of Pittsburgh. PRT is planning a project to improve the station that will include the construction of new platforms, ADA compliant ramps and stairs, and other improvements to canopies, lighting, signage, and wayfinding for the new inbound and outbound station stops. A portion of this work will encroach over part of the public sanitary trunk lines and related facilities that PWSA operates and maintains in the area. And let me try the clicker here. You can see here on screen the area where the new station or expanded footprint of the station inbound and outbound in yellow. And then you can see how portions of it, will be running over top of some of PWSA's facilities in the area. In order for us to proceed with the project, we did negotiate with PWSA what they call a structures over facilities agreement, which essentially gives us the permit and license to go ahead and construct our facilities. In exchange, we grant back to the PWSA a permanent easement for them to access their facilities in the future for any maintenance or upgrades needed. In the next picture here with thanks to engineering, just some renderings of the station, what it will look like after that's completed. But at this time, we are requesting, and subject to any member questions, respectfully requesting that the Performance Oversight Committee recommend this resolution that would authorize PRT to proceed to enter into this agreement with PWSA for the Belasco Station Improvements Project to the full board for approval.
Mike, do we have a time frame on this project yet?
I may have to ask Mr. O'Hare to answer that one. I only have the agreement piece, the time frame on my end, so let me move over for a sec here.
That's okay.
Good morning. So we're currently
morning.
finishing up final design and hope to advertise the project shortly after the first of the year with anticipation of beginning construction this construction season.
Okay, great. All right. Beautiful drawings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any
Thank you,
questions
Mr.
from
O'Hare.
any of our
No questions.
questions from other board members?
I did have a question about is there any work that PWSA is going to do? I mean, are they going to replace anything while we're doing this project? In other words, are any of the lines need replaced? Are they going to do any of that work? Do we know?
No, the PWSA will not be replacing any of the lines as we're performing our work. However, we will be performing some upgrade work with the PWSA line with regard to lining the pipe that goes beneath the station, the existing pipe. There's some existing pipe that goes beneath the station. We'll be doing some lining of that pipe, so that'll increase the service life of that existing pipe.
What I would hate to see is us finish this project and have to do something. So,
Yes, sir.
You're anticipating that not being done, right? Thank you.
That's correct. Yes.
I was going to give the same answer, I swear.
Very good. Thank you. No further questions. Can I have a motion to move this forward to the full board?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mike, I think you're continuing with authorization to extend and amend agreement with Interstate Acquisition Services to provide real estate consulting services.
Yes, this second and final resolution I have for the committee's consideration this morning would authorize PRT to extend our agreement with Interstate Acquisition Services, a division of Century Engineering, to continue to provide real estate consulting services to PRT. The services provided under this agreement include recurring property management and support services. They help manage our park and ride lots and other real estate assets that we have throughout Allegheny County, along with as-needed services when we're either acquiring or disposing of properties such as surveying, appraisals, et cetera, and helping us manage our our electronic real estate database. In September 2017, the board originally authorized the award of this agreement to Century Engineering to provide these services through on an as-needed basis through work orders. Following prior extensions, the agreement is currently set to expire at the end of this calendar year and has a current total authorized not to exceed amount of $1,862,000. Staff is recommending that PRT extend the agreement on a short-term basis at this time up to 3 additional months through March 31st of 2024, and increase the total authorized not to exceed amount of the agreement by in the amount of $150,000 to continue to fund the services while PRT completes a new public solicitation for these services. We issued RFP number 2315 over the summer, received proposals, are actively evaluating them. So we're currently anticipating we'll be in a position to present a new under the new RFP, a new contract award recommendation to the board first quarter of next year. This short-term extension and funding increase would basically allow us to continue the incumbent contract until that new process is completed and presented to the board. So subject to any questions that members may have, I would respectfully request that the committee recommend this resolution to the full board for approval.
Very good. Thank you. Do any of our committee members have questions for Mr. Setra?
No, thank you.
Do any of the other board members have questions for Mr. Setra on this project? Hearing none, could I have a motion to move this forward to the full board, please?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to the full board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Continuing with item E, authorization to award construction contracts for general, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical construction for the West Mifflin Garage Equipment Replacement and Facilities Improvements Project. Mr. Greg O'Hare, good morning.
Good morning again. This resolution seeks authorization to award a construction contract WM-23-09 GHP&E for West Mifflin Garage Equipment Replacement and Facilities Improvement. The scope of work generally consists of concrete paving, replacing the bus wash and vacuum systems, replace bus paint booth and mixing room, installation of a new bus lift, replace the exterior windows of the building, install LED lighting, install a bus exhaust systems, and modify the HVAC, electrical, and plumbing to support the project. The project duration is 560 calendar days, so approximately 19 months from notice to proceed. The low responsive bidders for the general construction is Mercedes Construction Company with a bid of $8,987,222. Mechanical construction, SSM Industries Incorporated with a bid of $596,000. Plumbing construction, Wheels Mechanical Contracting and Supplier Incorporated with a bid of $688,000. Electrical construction, Allegheny City Electric Incorporated with a bid of $1,856,500. This slide for illustrative purposes to show a couple pictures and an aerial view. I guess it's more of a little map of the West Mifflin Bus Garage showing the project work areas. From the upper left-hand side is where we'll be installing a new bus lift. The upper right-hand side is where the new paint booth will go. And in the bottom, the wash rack, there's two wash racks that will be installed in the blue area and the bus vacuum system in the green area of the project work areas. In the upper right-hand side is a picture of the bus wash rack, also called bus washes or wash racks. We're going to be installing two of those, and that's just an illustration for folks to see. And then the bottom right-hand side is a picture of the bus vacuum system, which is outside of transit agencies, isn't very common, so some folks may not be overly familiar with. Whereas the vacuum system attaches to or goes around the door, and it acts as a big vacuum or big cyclone and sucks out all the loose materials to help assist with cleaning of the buses, make our cleaning the buses much more efficient. Pending any questions, I respectfully request the committee to move the resolution to the full board for consideration.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. O'Hare. Do I have any questions from my committee members?
No, I just have the comment. I like that vacuum system. I could use one of those. Thank you.
Isn't that cool? If we could have that at our front door at home, boy, that would clean out a lot of the clutter and I don't know, maybe an animal, a bad child or two. Okay, forgive me for that comment. All right, so any questions from the other board members?
Yeah, a question about capacity at West Mifflin. Does this improve the capacity? Because is there a capacity issue with the garage now? I thought there was, and I wasn't sure if this would improve that or not.
This doesn't improve the capacity with regard to bus storage at the location. This does provide, the additional bus lift does provide additional maintenance capacity at the garage. Where the bus lift is being installed, there is no bus lift right there right now. It's a pit which was used for inspections previously, which is no longer being used. So this does provide additional maintenance capacity. The new wash racks or our bus wash racks are high efficiency wash racks. So that'll allow buses to be cleaned quicker and more efficiently. Likewise, as mentioned with the vacuum system, that'll allow the buses to be cleaned more efficiently as well too. So there's going to be savings in that regard.
Right, so there is going to be some capacity improvements based on what you just said. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very good. With no other questions then, could I have a motion to move this forward to the full board, please?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Great slides. I love this directions there. So item number 4 is our calendar year 2023 PennDOT State Safety Oversight Agency Program presentation. So we have some PennDOT representatives and we also have Mike Setter who's going to do some introductions for us. So thank you, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Madam Committee Chairwoman and committee members and members. It's always my pleasure each year to welcome Elizabeth Bonini, who is our State Safety Oversight Division Chief, and Steve Frazier, who is Vice President for Transportation Resource Associates, which works with PennDOT on their state oversight, the State Safety Oversight Agency program, to come in and address the board and provide you a year in review of key activities and initiatives in 23 and what we're looking ahead to in the coming year. I do not want to steal Beth's thunder, so I'll certainly turn it over to her shortly, but did just want to mention we also have our Chief Safety Officer, Bert Jennings, and our Transit Police Chief, Matt Porter with us this morning. So if there are any staff level questions on the safety program after PennDOT's presentation, they're also here to answer those questions. So with that, I'll turn it over to Beth, and thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and the board members and any visitors to this. Appreciate your time. We appreciate your interest, your engagement in safety and what we do with the State Safety Oversight Agency. Again, thank you, Mike, for the introduction and for all of your support, as well as Catherine and Bert and Chief Porter and all of the safety staff. So thank you very much. Please feel free to ask questions throughout this presentation. We try to get an opportunity to speak to you at least once a year. I want to make sure I offer this at the beginning, but as a reminder, you could reach out to me at any time. If you ever have any questions, comments, concerns, would like any information, please feel free to always reach out. I'm always available. So today we're going to talk about things that we've been focused on thus far in 2023. We're going to talk about our program standards, your public transportation agency safety plan, your security and emergency preparedness plan, a little bit about your safety management system implementation, some capital projects, safety certifications, audits that we have done, events that have occurred on your system, and then some upcoming initiatives. And again, we'll open it up for questions. Next slide, please. So the first thing I wanted to call out is we have a change in terminology. Every single time we've presented to you, we've been known as the Rail Transit Safety Review Program, RTSRP. So for the past, I don't know, 30 plus years, we've been using that acronym because we had a program well before the federal government mandated a safety oversight program. We decided in 2023 to realign the name of our program to match the federal terminology. It just made things a lot easier. So we weren't RTSRP, and every other state safety oversight was their SSOA, or State Safety Oversight Agency. So we realigned our terminology. So I know it takes some time to get used to that switch after 30 plus years, but we are now the State Safety Oversight Agency officially. Again, another realignment was it's no longer our procedures and standards, which is basically specific to Pennsylvania, but it's taking everything that we do in Pennsylvania, and it's now our program standard. And again, it's just a terminology change in order to match up with the federal government's legislation. I believe we talked about this at our last during our last conversation, but FTA, the Federal Transit Administration, did issue a safety advisory to all states that have rail fixed guideway. It's our safety advisory is 22-44, and if anyone's interested, you could just go onto Google and do FTA Safety Advisory 22-44 if you would like to read it. Again, it was issued to all states with rail fixed guideways, and it's requiring the development of a risk-based inspection program, an RBI program. And what an RBI program really does, it's a program that is making sure that our inspections are risk-based and allows for us to do both announced and any unannounced inspections, and to have full access and utilization to your data, the RTA's data, the Rail Transit Agency's data, in order to do those inspections. So we have to have a program fully developed in cooperation and coordination with all of the rail transit agencies, PRT included, of course, and approved by the FTA they want us to have our program to them by July of 2024. They have to approve it by, I believe, October 21st, 2024. So we are working diligently on that program to ensure that whatever we present to the FTA will get approved. In addition, there is notice of proposed rulemakings out right now. That's for 49 CFR 672 and 675. And those are related to 672 is for our public transportation safety certification training program, which is our our training program, our certification in order to do the work that we do in safety and for PRT safety staff to do their work. So, and then 675, that notice of proposed rulemaking is really, it's for transit worker hours of service and fatigue risk management. So I would encourage folks to really review those notice of proposed rulemakings and provide comments to the FTA, because those comments, these are potential major changes to either our training certification program and fatigue and hours of service. So providing those comments in a timely fashion for their consideration is really, really important. So something doesn't come out without the voice of the transit agencies. SEPTA and the SSOA in Pennsylvania at PennDOT we're currently undergoing a safety management inspection by the FTA. A safety management inspection is when the FTA will come out and do a very detailed inspection of both our program and SEPTA's safety program. They call it a focused SMI, which they're only looking at 3 specific areas. I don't know if you've read in the news, but SEPTA was going through, they had like a really rough couple of weeks with events, and that spurred on this SMI, the safety management inspection by the FTA. So any lessons learned that are coming out of that SMI, we have a great relationship with Bert and the chief, and we're making sure that we provide any of those lessons learned to PRT staff. So any changes or improvements that could be made to your program based on what we're learning from what comes out of this SMI are communicated and taken into consideration by PRT. We completed our annual report to the governor. Oh, and by the way, the SMI could last up to 2 years. So we will be working closely with the FTA for quite a while on this. We did our annual report to the governor. The board at PRT should have also received a copy of that annual report, as well as the CEOs of all of the RTAs that we oversee. We've been working closely with PRT on a safety certification for your automatic trip stop improvement project. And I will say the level of transparency and cooperation that we have received from PRT, both for the ATS and any investigations or inspections that we've done on the Monongahela incline, have been fantastic. So we really appreciate that, that engagement, interaction, and transparency. Next slide, please. So thus far, we've already approved your SEPP and your accident investigation manual. Updates to our program standards. We included language for the risk-based inspection. We included a checklist for capital projects. So when your capital projects go into the planning phase and a funding phase, this is really, really important. We want to make sure that the safety department has done an evaluation of those projects to determine if to do a self-evaluation if there is a safety certification that they think will be required for the project. That self-evaluation will then be provided to us, and we'll make the final determination. And this is really, really important, because whenever a project goes forward, you don't want to find out much later into the project that we're going to require safety certification, because you want to make sure that that safety certification is included in the project budget, because it could add time and resources to ensure that all of the safety components of that certification are included. So we are really pushing to get projects that are more so in the planning phases to be evaluated by system safety and then provided to us for our final evaluation. We also did something different. This is not a federal requirement. This is a PennDOT SSOA requirement where the accountable executives at all of the RTAs that we oversee must receive SMS, safety management system awareness training. And that's, only a couple of hours, maybe if that, through there's an online class, but also to receive agency specific SMS training. SMS awareness is a really high level program or training course that talks to you about what is safety management system, but the PRT's SMS training is very specific to how you're implementing it, what it means to PRT. So we're requiring that the accountable executive receive all of that training as well. I didn't mention it on the slide, but we also, in our program standard, we have updated and included an escalation process. It was something that we have always done. It never really, we haven't really had to use it very often, but we formalized it in our program standard. And it basically says if we're not receiving the information and the response that we need from the chief safety officer, then we could take something up to the accountable executive and we could give a certain duration of time. And we do that through what's called an immediate action. And if we're not receiving the response that we need from the accountable executive, then we'll take things to the board, which is why we're here. And so if you hear from us outside of this, it may not be the best circumstance, but it would go to the board and of course to the Secretary of Transportation and potentially to the governor. So we're trying to, again, this is not a process that we've had to use at PRT, but just know that that is now an escalation process, has been formalized and included in our program standard. Your PTASP has been updated and we provided a pre-approval before it goes to the board for formal approval. Again, you guys have acknowledged the RBI and what we have so far. You've acknowledged and the creation of your safety committees, and you included, and I believe have to do some additional updates for your configuration management plan. So I think there's a little bit more that needs to go into your PTASP, but so far it's ready for a preliminary approval. Next slide, please. So SMS implementation at PRT, I believe all of your the executive team has received the SMS familiarization training. It's really important to have an SMS implementation plan, which is how you're going to take what's in your agency safety plan and how you're going to formalize that and really get that implemented throughout your organization with really specific actions, timelines, and milestones. So, and that will help PRT track their performance toward full implementation of SMS. You guys have done an excellent job at the creation of the preventative maintenance and corrective maintenance data system, your fix system, which is something that we've been looking forward to for a very long time, and we're really excited about that rolling out. And I believe there's a safety dashboard that's also in development, which I think will help provide accurate information to everyone for where you are with your safety system. I already briefly talked about the safety certification that's in process for your ATS project. Again, full transparency, cooperation, and we've been working hand in hand with PRT on that. Again, once we get more information on your capital project list, there may or may not be additional safety certifications depending on what capital projects you present to us. And again, I want to be clear, there's a standard for the federal government on when they require a safety certification. And I think theirs is based on a dollar threshold. Ours is not based on a dollar threshold. Ours is based on a safety threshold, right? So if there's a signal project or a major safety project that we feel like is we want to make sure that there's a very clear safety cert plan in place. We will require it, but it might not meet the dollar threshold of the federal government. So, there is a distinction, but we want to be clear that when there is one required by the federal government and they assign staff to it, we work hand in hand with that staff from the assigned by the federal government, but you still have to go through the safety cert process that we have as well. Next slide, please. So here are the triennial audits that we have conducted in 2022, so far in 23, and then what we have planned in 2024. When we conduct a triennial audit, we have 3 categories that come out of those audits. The first one is a finding, which is you have a policy, a plan, you have something documented, and what we have found deviates from what was documented, what should have been happening. The second is a DIHI, or data and information for hazard identification. You may not have anything documented that you're in violation of, but it's something that we want you to take into consideration. Maybe there's a best practice. Maybe there's something we have seen that just doesn't look right. And we have a concern. And we don't say that it's a hazard. We say it's basically a safety concern. It's data and information. And that data and information must go through PRT's safety risk management process to determine if it is a hazard. And then if it is determined to be a hazard, then you have to go through and mitigate that hazard. And then the third thing that comes out of these audits is an observation, whether those observations are good or maybe it's a one-off, but it's an observation. Nothing has to come out of an observation. You don't have to report back to us on an observation. It's just something for your consideration. So those are the 3 kind of categories that come out of a triennial audit. Next slide, please. So to date, here are at least the number of PRT events as of November 2nd, 2023. If you go to the next slide, we have those broken down to the type of events, and these are reportable events that must get reported to us and to the FTA. The light teal color is 2023, and so you have a year-to-year comparison of where you are. And I believe the system modification or disruption too, I think there's been a recategorization of that particular category as well. So that could also be a reason why you see a huge drop in that system modification or disruption event type. Next slide, please. Again, this just breaks down the events into different event types, so you have a better, a different type of view of, and this one goes back to 2020. And you'll see that in general, your totals are pretty consistent, and again, in 2023, again, the year is not over, knock on wood, has gone down, so which is a great thing. Next slide, please. So some current and upcoming initiatives. We have FTA put out a safety advisory 22-2. It's for signal system safety and train control. PRT requested an extension on their response to us on that safety advisory because of the project that we were talking about for the safety certification. So they plan to have something to us, I believe, by the end of the year, if I remember correctly. But they are working diligently on their the response to that safety advisory. But again, it was kind of tied into that overall capital project, and it made sense to just request a time extension. We did hire a regional manager for Western PA and Southeastern PA. So I have staff assistants PennDOT staff assistants in addition to our consultant staff assistants. And I didn't even mention Elise, who's on the calls. Thank you, Elise, for being here. And Elise actually works for our consultant staff. Our Western PA regional manager staff couldn't be here today. Another initiative that we're looking at and working with system safety on is the North Shore connector camera replacement. And I'm also working closely with a lot of different areas of PRT to conduct SSO, State Safety Oversight 101 training, just so it's not just the board or executives or higher level management staff that know who we are and what we do, but to really bring that down deeper into the organization. So I've been going out and participating and we're coordinating additional SSO 101 training. Again, just making sure that we're open and available so so folks know who we are and what the heck we're doing on site. Next slide. So again, I mentioned this earlier. I'm happy to answer questions now, but if you ever have any comments, questions, concerns, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
Very good. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for that report. And at what point, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard you say great job with some of our preventive maintenance. So I heard that little bit of a compliment there. So thank you for that.
No,
For our
yeah,
staff.
you know, honestly, your staff has been extremely forthcoming and transparent to work with. It's I will say we don't always agree, but I think that's healthy, right? There has to be some push and pull, but it's a productive relationship. And at the end of the day, we're all rowing in the same direction, which is exactly what we want to see. How we get there is it's always a challenge, but again, the staff has been excellent to work with. I did not mention that we also initiated I believe I meet with Mike too at least on a quarterly basis, just to make sure that he and I are in touch on a regular basis. And I have a meeting with Catherine at least once a year and her executive team. So I believe that's Thanksgiving week. So we'll be meeting face to face just so we could have some more in-depth conversations. But honestly, your willingness to talk to us and ask any questions that you have, I would never want you or anyone on the board to be caught off guard with things. I want to make sure that we are also as transparent and open with you as possible. So thank you for allowing that.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And I want to thank our Catherine, our senior staff, and Chief Porter and Bert Jennings for working on this, and also Mike Cetra. And if I've left any names out, forgive me for that. But thank you, Elizabeth. And it's great to hear that you have this productive and good communication or working relationship. So I just appreciate that so much. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Elizabeth on anything from either my committee members or board people? Any questions? Or comments?
I did have a question concerning the Monongahela incline. There seems to be some issues with that, and I wasn't sure that we looked deeper into that. Have you looked at that more thoroughly? Again, I'm not sure, but there seems to be some issues with that. I was concerned about that. That's all.
So yeah, we have, because we too were concerned with why there was that stop, and I think it was an emergency evacuation of passengers on the incline. From everything that I have reviewed with our engineers and PRT's engineers, things have been realigned and things are moving forward. Something that's John, you should know about the incline is that not only is it overseen by PRT and PRT staff, the state safety oversight, but you also have a third set of eyes on the incline, which is the Department of Labor and Industry. The Department of Labor and Industry also believes they consider the incline almost like an elevator. So it also falls under their purview. So you have three different entities taking a very close look at the incline. And again, as all of the coordination that we've done at this point, there are no issues that I'm aware of at the incline. But Bert, if you have anything to add to that.
No, but thank you, Beth, for that. I do realize that. I just had some concerns about that, what was happening to the incline, because it's like 3,000 years old, right?
Hey, listen, Camtran's doing a full rehab of their incline, so yeah. You'll be interested too. Inclines are extremely specialized pieces of equipment, and I started a specialized rail incline working group that includes PRT, Camtran in Johnstown, Tennessee, and there's another incline in California in LA. So that working group to pull those specialized systems together, since there's only a few in the country, I think has been really helpful too.
Well, we've had discussions over the years about additional inclines. Whether that'll happen or not is another story, but we've had conversations about that within our system itself. So again, thank you for the information on that. And again, I was just wanted to see, because I had some concerns about it, how you guys addressed it. So thank you for that.
Thank you, John. Your concern for the incline. It is one of Pittsburgh's treasures, so thank you. Mike Setter, do you have any comments here to close us out before we adjourn, or Catherine?
Thank you, Madam Committee Chairwoman. Just again, I think Beth said it very well. We don't always see eye to eye on all issues, but it's a very collaborative and transparent relationship. And I have found Beth and I used to have always regularly communicated, but I have found our quarterly meetings, because you know how busy everybody is, having regularly scheduled quarterly meetings where we can go through items of concern and happenings, et cetera, has really helped me at the senior team level to make sure that I'm fully up to speed on any issues or items that we may need to be focusing on further. But really can't say enough about, I may be up here making introductions and saying thank you, but really can't say enough about all the staff, PennDOT staff, their consultants, and our Chief Porter and his team, Bert and the safety team, and our safety consultants. They're the ones doing all the day-to-day work, and we certainly can't do it without buy-in and support from everyone else in the organization. As Beth said, not just the executives, but we need every employee from the top down to be invested in making our system safer and helping us identify and mitigate hazards. So I think that's what I would say. And again, thank Beth very much for her time. And Elise, my apologies. Hard to see online land from here, so I apologize. I didn't recognize you earlier. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Beth. We have come to the end of our agenda. I have no other business, so I would entertain a motion for us to close our meeting. Very good.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you. We are adjourned and continuing now with the Technology Committee. Thank you, everyone. The next meeting will be in January of Performance Oversight. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Jennifer. I'm here for the Technology Committee meeting. I'm going to bring the meeting to order since we're kind of running, I guess not totally beyond schedule, but we're a little bit beyond, but that was a very good presentation. So I'm going to start calling the meeting to order. I would like to do a roll call, please. Committee members, can you please identify yourself?
Yeah, Joe Totten.
Lori Mizgorski.
Thank you. Can any other board member please identify themselves for the record?
Allie Doyle.
Michelle Smith.
Okay,
Joe
thank you
Totten.
very much. Oh, thank you.
Okay.
The first item of business will be approval of the minutes from the October 19, 2023 Technology Committee meeting. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It looks like we have 3 resolutions today. So it appears that Eric will start us off. So Eric,
Good morning.
good morning.
Good morning. This is timely since Beth just spoke about our safety of our system, and I'm happy to present a project that furthers that endeavor. This resolution seeks authorization to extend the agreement R1710 with Hitachi Rail STS Incorporated for the procurement replacement of the automatic trip stop system. This agreement with Hitachi Rail was entered into in April of 2018. And the ATS system that we're implementing is an RFID-based system, which replaces a 35-year-old inductive loop system. And I know that technology in terms and acronyms might be a little confusing, so to simplify it, RFID-based is, think of the Easy Pass when you go on a turnpike and you have a transponder tag in your car that communicates with a unit and overhead, and this is similar to that. So that's how the technology works. This new ATS will provide enhanced safety and reliability where we currently have ATS on the red and blue line. So basically everything on the west side of our alignment, the red line, and where the red and blue line overlap from South Hills Village to Allegheny Station. Other portions of the line already have a similar type system on the eastern side of the alignments. On the blue and silver line already have that type of technology, and also Silver Line Library, the board authorized recently a project to implement a similar type system. So once all these systems are in place, we'll have modern technology improving the safety and reliability of our rail line. The system controls speed and enforces red signals by automatically applying the brakes on the rail car should there be a violation of a red signal or an overspeed situation. And so in that scenario, which we're not anticipating, but if something were to happen, we would have that backup to provide that safety net. The current agreement expires on December 11th of this year, and there's a current total not to exceed amount of $22,339,652.63. Current status right now is Hitachi has completed the design, the safety review, and the wayside track installation for the entire system. Vehicle installation has been completed on approximately half of our fleet to date. We're making good progress now. After it took a little time with some of the processes that Beth mentioned in her presentation with safety certifications. That process does take time to develop and implement. Now that process has moved along, we're into the production mode of updating these vehicles. At this time, Hitachi requires a 1-year time extension to complete the remainder of the vehicle installations. And then after that's completed, we'll decommission the old ATS system. Couple pictures shown is the vehicle installation, the equipment that's being replaced on the vehicles, as well as on the bottom right is a tag for a transponder tag, which communicates to the rail car. And so with this extension, the new completion date would be December 11th, 2024, and at no increase to the current authorized not to exceed amount of that agreement at this time. Pending any further questions, I respectfully request the committee to move this resolution for consideration by the full board for approval.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions by committee or board members? No, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
And I'll
Second.
second. All those in favor say
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I believe, Jeff, you'll be handling the next two
Thank you.
resolutions?
Yes, I will. So good morning, everybody. I have two resolutions today. If you remember when I came 5.5 years ago, I was excited to see that we had outsourced our data center services for our core infrastructure. It was at the time, especially, it really wasn't one of our core competencies. So by enabling an outside firm to help us manage this, it was very beneficial. Along with that same contract is that they help back us up on some information security services. So the contract was initially set 3 years ago, and at this point, we're ready to request our first option year on this extension for the ideal Resolution 20-01. This would increase the total not to exceed in this first option year from 3.9 million to 5.2 million, about 1.3 million for the coming year service. So pending any questions, I respectfully request this be delivered to the full board for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there any questions from committee or board members?
5.5 years, wow.
John surprised I made it for 5.5. John is surprised I made it for 5.5 years.
Oh. Okay, hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
And I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Jeff, the last resolution, please.
Yes, so back in 2000, we started putting clever devices on our bus and eventually rail system. I want to do a shout out here to Scott Fatier and Mike Bone. Mike has since retired, but today it's Scott and Samantha and Mike who are continuing to grow and expand the system of our intelligent transportation core really on our buses from a technology standpoint. And the clever devices includes our intelligent vehicle network, our real-time location, our passenger counters, a lot of really important stuff. And from an ADA perspective, the automatic voice enunciators that announce the stops as they're coming up. So as I said, it's been in use since 2000. This would be a sole source request. We're requesting another 5 years for maintenance and software support with a total not to exceed of $4,021,000 and $4,021,320. So subject to any questions, I'd respectfully request that this be presented to the full board for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'll entertain any questions from committee members or board members.
One of the things I wanted to mention at the Committee for Accessible Transportation meeting, the automatic voice enunciators were discussed, and there still seem to be some issues with that.
Yes, we're constantly investigating issues as we find specific instances. We try to chase down and determine the cause to make sure we repair when they're not working properly.
I just wanted to acknowledge that that was said, that they talked about at the CAT committee meeting.
Yes, thank you, John.
Yes, thank you very much, John. We should always recognize those issues at our committee meetings. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I believe that ends our committee meeting for technology agenda items for the day. Is that correct, Mr. Devlin?
You are correct.
And Mr. Setra, is it correct to say that we are done with committee meetings for the PRT for the day?
That is correct.
Thank you. Okay, so on behalf of the PRT board members and staff, I'd like to thank everyone for their participation. I'm adjourning the technology meeting for the day, and that concludes all of our committee meetings. So thank you, everyone, and you have a nice weekend.